If y'all haven't read this book, y'all gotta tap in with it. It got gems, boy. Okay. There can't be anyone, I'm sure, who doesn't know what it feels like to be disliked, even rejected, momentarily or for sustained periods of time. Perhaps the feeling is merely indifference, mild anno- annoyance, but it may also be hurt. It may be that some of us know what it is like to be actually hated. Hated for things we have no control over and cannot change. When this happens, it is some consolation to know that the dislike or hatred is unjustified, that you don't deserve it. And if you have the emotional strength and or support from family and friends, the damage is reduced or erased. We think of it as a stress, minor or disabling. That is part of life as a human. When I began writing The Bluest Eye, I was interested in something else, not resistance to the contempt of others, ways to deflect it, but the far more tragic and disabling consequences of accepting rejection as a legitimate, as self-evident. I knew that some victims of powerful self-loathing turn out to be dangerous, violent, reproducing the enemy who has humiliated them over and over. Others surrender their identity, melt into a structure that delivers the strong persona they lack. Most others, however, grow behind it. But they are some who collapse silently, anonymously, with no voice to express or acknowledge it. They are invisible. The depth of self-esteem can occur quickly, easily in children before their ego has legs, so to speak. Couple the vulnerability of youth with indifferent parents, dismissive adults, and a world which, in its language, laws, and images, reinforces despair, and the journey to destruction is sealed. The project then, for this my first book, was to enter the life of the one least likely to withstand such damaging forces because of youth, gender, and race. Began as a bleak narrative of psychological murder. The main character could not stand invented friends, classmates who understood, even sympathized with their plight, but had the benefit of supportive parents and a feistiness on their own. Yet they were helpless as well. They could not save their friend from the world she broke. The origin of the novel lay in a conversation I had with a childhood friend. We had just started elementary school. She wanted blue eyes. I looked around to picture her with them and was violently repelled by what I imagined she would like if she had her wish. The sorrow in her voice seemed to call for sympathy, and I faked it for her, but astonished by the desperation she proposed. I had, I had got mad at her instead. Until that moment, I had seen the pretty, the lovely, the nice, the ugly, and although I had certainly used the word beautiful, I had never experienced its shock, the force of which was equaled by the knowledge that no one recognized it, and not even or especially the one who possessed it. It must have seen the face I was examining, the silence of the street in the early afternoon, the light, the atmosphere of confession. In any case, it was the first time I knew beautiful, had imagined it for myself. Beauty was not simply something to behold, it was something one could do. The bluest eye was my effort to say something about that, to say something about why she had nor or possibly ever would have. The experience of what she had possessed, and also why she prayed for so radical an alteration. Implicit in her desire was racial self-loathing. And 20 years later, I was wondering about how one learns that. Who told her? Who made her feel that it was better to be a freak than what she was? Who she had looked at her and found her so wanting, so small a weight on the beauty scale. The novel pecks away at the gaze that condemned her. The, repli- the replication of racial beauty in the 60s stirred these thoughts, made me think about the necessity for the claim. While although revealed by others, could this beauty not be taken for granted within the community? Why did it need wide public altercation to exist? These are not clever questions. But in 1962, when I began this story, and in 1965, when it began to be a book, the answers were not as obvious to me as they quickly became and are now. The assertion of racial beauty was not just a reaction to the self-mocking, humorous critique of cultural racial foibles common in all groups, but against the damaging internalization of assumptions of immutable inferiority, originating in an outside gaze. I focus, therefore, on how something as grotesque as the demonstration of an entire race could take root inside the most delicate member of society, a child, the most vulnerable member, a female, and trying to, excuse me, dramatize the devastation that even casual racial contempt can cause. I chose a unique situation, not a representative one. The extremity of Piccola's case stemmed largely from a crippled and crippling family, unlike the average black family and unlike the narrators, but singular as Piccola's life was. I believe some aspects of her vulnerability were lodged in all young girls in exploring the social and domestic aggression that could cause a child to literally fall apart. I mounted a series of rejections, some routine, some exceptional, some monstrous, all the while trying hard to avoid complicity in the demonstration process Bucola was subjected to. That is, I did not want to dehumanize the characters who trashed Bucola and contributed to her collapse. One problem was centering the weight of the work of the novel's inquiry on so delicate and vulnerable a character could smash into an integration of themselves for the smashing. My solution, break the narrative into parts that had to be reassembled by the reader, seemed to be a good idea. The execution, which does not satisfy me now. Besides, it didn't work. Many readers remained touched but not moved. The other problem, of course, was language. holding a despising glance while sabotaging it was difficult. The novel tried to hit the raw nerve of racial self-contempt, expose it, then soothe it, not with nar- no- the narcos, but with language that replicated the agency I discovered in my first experience of beauty. Because that moment was so racially infused. Any infusion at what my school friend wanted. Very blue eyes and a very black skin. The harm she was doing to my concept of the beautiful. The struggle was for writing that was black. I don't know quite what that is, but nearly that, not the attempt to disqualify an effort to find our keeps from the trying to pursue it. My choice of language, sparkly, oral, colloquially, my reliance for all comprehension on codes embedded in black culture, my immediate conspiracy and intimacy without any distancing, explanatory fabric, as well as my attempt to shape a silence while breaking it, or attempts to transfigure the complexity and wealth of Black American culture into a language worthy of the culture. Thinking back now on the problems expressive language present to me, I'm amazed by their currency, their tenacity. Hearing civilized languages, debates humans, watching cultural exorcisms, debates literature, seeking oneself preserved in the amber of disqualifying metaphors. I could say that my narrative project isn't difficult today as it was then. Thank y'all for tuning in. So, later or tomorrow, I'll be reading the next chapter of one of my favorite books, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. Keep striving, keep your head up. Y'all got this. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all follow, subscribe. The best yet to come. We global.